Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Limpin Vishum. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 9th of June. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League emerges largest party in Gilgit election. AAP cries political vendetta after police arrest Delhi Law Minister for fake degree. And Bangladesh begins repatriation of migrants rescued in Myanmar. And now for all the details. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League is likely to form the next provincial government in Pakistan's illegally occupied region of Gilgit-Baltistan. Unofficial results on Tuesday showed it is winning nearly half of the seats. However, many, including the opposition Pakistan People's Party, accused the elections on Monday was rigged in favor of the government.
The Pakistan Muslim League has won 12 of the total 24 seats to the Gilgit-Baltistan Provincial Assembly according to unofficial results. 2 seats each were won by Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and Majlis-e-Wahdat-e-Muslimin. The Pakistan People's Party, which was in power in the region till December, was reduced to just 1 seat, with even Chief Minister Mehdi Shah facing defeat. The PPP, however, said the votes were rigged by the PML supporters in many constituencies in the elections held on Monday. This was a fear that the opposition and nationalist parties alike have been raising for some time. Ever since Federal Minister for Gilgit-Baltistan Affairs Barjees Tahir was appointed as governor of the illegally occupied region in February, opposition parties had claimed that the free and fair election won't be possible there. Even Monday's election, which was held under the control of the Pakistan Army, failed to evoke much enthusiasm among the locals. In many constituencies, the voter turnout was low after nationalist parties called for a boycott to protest the illegal occupation of Pakistan. In areas of the Diyamit district, the women voters reportedly voluntarily abstained from the vote. Even though a new legislature will soon assume office, it will be of little help to the impoverished province as the elected government there has no powers. Almost all authority, including taxation and control on its natural resources, are held by a Gilgit-Baltistan Council in Islamabad headed by the Pakistan Prime Minister. Pakistan, which illegally occupied Gilgit-Baltistan over 6 decades ago, has made it a no-go zone for both local and international media, putting an iron curtain on the gross rights violation by its army and security forces in the region. India had last week marked a strong protest in Pakistan holding elections in Gilgit, calling it a cover-up of its occupation.
Delhi police on Tuesday arrested Provincial Law Minister Jiten Singh Tomar. He was accused of using a fake degree while filing nomination for the assembly elections earlier this year. The Aam Aadmi Party has, however, called it a political conspiracy. A report.
Jiten Singh Tomar was arrested early Tuesday under charges of cheating and fraud in obtaining his law degree. The arrest was made in a complaint by the Bar Council of India claiming that his degree was fake. Tomar, who holds the law portfolio in the Delhi cabinet, had in his election affidavit stated that he was a law graduate. However, further investigation proved that provincial certificate that Tomar used to enroll as lawyer was fabricated. The Bharatiya Janata Party said Tomar should be disqualified as a lawmaker.
He should not only be sacked. I think if Aam Aadmi Party and Kejriwal have any shame, forget about morals, if they have any shame, they should force the MLA to minister to not only resign from ministry, but also resign as an MLA.
The Aam Aadmi Party, however, condemned his arrest, calling it a political vendetta on the part of the federal government led by the BJP.
This is dictatorial, this is like emergency where Narendra Modi government is indulging into vendetta politics, in revenge politics. Our minister has been arrested without any reason. The matter is in the court. The court should decide whether his papers are forged or not. The police has no business to get into this.
The AAP, led by Arvind Kejriwal, swept into power, winning 67 out of the 70 seats in Delhi in February. The federal ruling BJP, which had high hopes of capturing power in the national capital, was reduced to just 3 seats. Despite winning with a huge mandate, the AAP has been accusing the BJP of controlling the provincial government through the Lieutenant Governor. Chief Minister Kejriwal has since on a number of occasions came on a confrontation path with the federal government, seeking full statehood and handing the control of the Delhi police to the provincial government.
The International War Crimes Tribunal of Bangladesh has sentenced convicted war criminal Syed Hassan Ali to death. The 68-year-old was handed down the punishment in absentia after he was found guilty committing crimes against humanity during the Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971.
The ICT in Dhaka on Tuesday found Syed Hassan Ali guilty of 5 charges of crimes against humanity committed in 1971 during the Liberation War. The charges against Ali include mass murder, abductions and arson. He was also accused of being a Razakar, a term used to refer to the pro-Pakistan militias in Bangladesh in 1971. Delivering the judgment, the ICT said Ali can either be hanged or gunned down. This is the first time the court is directing any war crimes convict to be executed by firing. The court has also asked the police to seek the help of Interpol to extradite the absconding criminal. Ali is the 6th war crimes convict to be handed down the death penalty in absentia. The ICT, which was established in 2010, has so far convicted nearly 24 people, mostly leaders of the country's largest Islamic party, the Jamaat-e-Islami, for their involvement in crimes against humanity. According to the Bangladesh government records, some 3 million people were killed and some 200,000 women were raped by Pakistan Army and its local collaborators when Bangladesh, then known as East Pakistan, tried to break away from West Pakistan in 1971.
In the 1 year that the Narendra Modi-led government has been in power in India, there has been a renewed focus on improving relations with the countries in the Indian subcontinent. But missing in the foreign policy process is untying the knots with its western neighbor Pakistan. Our political editor Smita Prakash has more in this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Bangladesh over the weekend, where he gave a renewed push to improve ties with the country's eastern neighbour, including ratifying a historic border agreement. But even here, Mr. Modi did not hesitate in blaming Pakistan for its alleged role in promoting terrorism in South Asia, particularly India.
पाकिस्तान आए दिन हिंदुस्तान को परेशान करता रहता है, नाको दम ला देता है, टेररिज्म को बढ़ावा की घटनाएं घटती रहती है.
In the past year, Mr. Modi's BJP government has almost totally ignored interaction with the Pakistani government. That's even though it had stated that its foreign policy focus would be neighbourhood first. India has re-engaged with all neighbouring countries such as Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar and even China and Afghanistan with renewed robustness. But bilateral relations with Pakistan have been stuck in a rut with no signs of renewal. Some analysts say that unless the dispute of Kashmir is taken off the table, there is little hope of progress for both sides.
It's difficult even at track 2 level or track 3 level to have talks with Pakistani peace activists, human rights defenders, etc. So if that is the situation in civil society, if you want state-to-state contact, then it's very difficult if the Pakistani generals keep saying that Kashmir is part of their unfinished agenda.
Things took a turn for the worse lately, with Pakistan holding assembly elections in the region of Gilgit-Baltistan on Monday. This is an area that India claims as its own under illegal occupation by Pakistan. New Delhi has termed the elections as a sham. In Islamabad, the Pakistani government and military has in turn accused India of encouraging terrorism and secessionism in its restive province of Balochistan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has come in for praise for thinking out of the box when it comes to engagement with neighbouring countries. However, there seems to be little progress being made in improving relations with Pakistan, despite international pressure to begin some kind of a bilateral dialogue. Smita Prakash, South Asia Newsline, New Delhi.
Bangladeshi authorities have started the process to repatriate some 150 migrants in the country. They were sent back to Bangladesh after being rescued by the Myanmar Navy last month.
The border guards Bangladesh began bringing back its nationals from Myanmar, where they were living in relief camps of refugees. These migrants were among the 208 people the Myanmar Navy had rescued from the sea in May. Out of these, some 150 of them were identified as Bangladeshis. The group is believed to be a part of some 3,000 refugees from Myanmar and Bangladesh who were seeking shelter in countries like Indonesia, Malaysia and Thailand. Most of these are Rohingya Muslims from Myanmar who fled the religious persecution in their country. The Rohingyas, despite living in Myanmar, has been seen as Bangladeshi immigrants and does not even have citizenship. This had forced many to flee the country on boats operated by traffickers who lured them with the promise of a better life in foreign land. While thousands have been rescued by various countries so far, the UN estimates that at least another 2,000 of them could be still adrift at the sea.
Nearly 1,000 civilians have been killed in Afghanistan in the first 4 months of 2015, the UN has said. The country has also witnessed a nearly 50% increase in the number of injuries from the previous year.
The escalating conflict in Afghanistan has resulted in nearly 1,000 civilians being killed in 2015 so far, the UN has said. According to the world body, 978 civilians were killed and 1,989 were injured throughout the country till April 30th. The figures were revealed by UN Secretary General's Deputy Special Representative for Afghanistan, Mark Bowden, on Monday. This is one of the highest tolls of civilian casualty in the country ever since the NATO occupation in 2001. Following the end of the NATO's combat mission in December, the country has seen an increase in attacks by the Taliban targeting both civilians and security forces. The numbers have further escalated since April after the insurgents announced their annual spring-summer offensive. Though the NATO continues to have a presence in the war-torn Afghanistan, the Resolute Support Mission is aimed at training the Afghan army to defend their homeland against the Taliban, which has been increasingly gaining ground in many parts of the country.
Sri Lankan cabinet has approved the 20th amendment to the constitution to reform the electoral system in the country. This was one of the biggest election promises of the new Sri Lankan president, Maithripala Sirisena.
The cabinet, during a special meeting late on Monday, approved Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's proposal on electoral reforms. The members decided to draft legislation by Friday to implement electoral reforms as the 20th amendment to the constitution. Under the new electoral system of 225 parliament members, 125 lawmakers will be elected by first past the post system, 75 from proportional representation system and remaining 25 members from national list through the 20th amendment to the constitution. Obtaining the 20th amendment was one of the main pledges of President Maithripala Sirisena's 100-day program ever since he assumed office this January. However, his efforts for the passage of the legislation were met with opposition by the other parties in the parliament, who feared that the new system would prove to be disadvantageous for them. President Sirisena has maintained that the electoral reforms will help less privileged classes to enter the parliament by allowing a level playing field. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party, which President Sirisena hails from, has launched a campaign of rallies to gain support for the approval of the 20th amendment by the parliament. The country will hold general elections in September to elect the next parliament.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League emerges largest party in Gilgit election. AAP cries political vendetta after police arrest Delhi Law Minister for fake degree. And Bangladesh begins repatriation of migrants rescued in Myanmar. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.